everyone, and welcome back to another great edition of the Ryze Recap. I am Symone Stanley, joined by Dan McDonald and Carter Wilson. Guys, how are you guys doing after a long holiday break?
Doing well. How are you doing, Symone?
Doing well.
I'm doing great. So we have a jam-packed show for you guys today because we are midway through the season. But before we get into that, y'all, we have to get into some breaking news. Our first time with breaking news on the Ryze Recap. Our very own Georgia 5-star product out of Milton High School and the Skills Factory, Kanan Carlisle, committed to Stanford over Auburn, Baylor, Florida, Kansas, and several other programs. He was a top 20 prospect in the class of 2023 and the first Stanford commit in the class of 2023. And he made history as well, being the fourth highest ranked prospect in Stanford history. Guys, what are your reactions? Y'all have been covering him since he was a freshman.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I was a little surprised a couple weeks ago when I heard that Stanford was trending in the favor in there because, in the past, Auburn offered him, I think before he even played a high school game, they were in there early. And he had been on their campus a bunch. So I think a lot of people thought they had a good lead on it. And then Baylor coming off a national championship, coming off having guys like Jared Butler and Davion Mitchell and Adam Flagler. Now they got Akinjo and all those guys playing great. I thought Baylor, with all the guards they've had and they're winning, just the style of play, I thought they'd be tough to beat. But, when we start talking about Stanford and academics and chance to play in a power conference and, what comes with both the basketball and the academic side of that, it's hard to, fight or disagree with any kid choosing to go for that route. So I'm excited for him. I think it's a heck of a gift for Stanford.
Yeah, I think it's a great get too. Obviously, Dan talked about, the recruiting process with him. And, Stanford does have those Southeastern ties. Jared Haas goes back to, his days in North Carolina and Rob Eason's also spent time at UAB. And, it's a program that can recruit in the area, even though it seems like they can't. They can recruit nationally just because of all the accolades that Dan mentioned. I think he's a very good fit there. I think he's going to go there and he's going to be a true two-way guy. He's going to score the ball really well. He's going to defend. He plays with such intensity. And one thing that I've always noticed about him that I haven't really heard anybody really talk about when they talk about this commitment, he goes on the biggest heaters I've ever seen. He'll go streaks in a game where he literally does not miss. And I think
both ends too.
It's both ends. The offense gets the defense going and the defense gets the offense going. It's he goes on these runs on his own, and it's absolutely crazy. And I think that, that could make him a really productive guy in the Pac-12.
Yeah. And again, the good thing about where he's playing now is when he does get on one of those heaters we talked about, when he's playing with TSF, he's got Isaiah Collier there, and Isaiah's keep going, man. He just feeds him. And on his high school team, he's got Bruce Thornton. So, he couldn't play with two better point guards to kind of feed that style of play he's got. And like you said, I think the good thing for him going to Stanford too is, he'll be committing this early. He's the kind of kid that if he playing in the EYBL or TSF, Milton's playing in all these big time tournaments nationally. He's going to be a kid that's very well known nationally so that when, Stanford's trying to go after other top-rated guys who have the academic background that he does, they'll be able to be like, oh, hey, you can come to Stanford. And they had Harrison Ingram as a freshman this year, but now they got Kanan coming in too. So you can kind of start selling hey, you're not going to be a lone wolf if you come here. You'll be playing with some really good players. So I think that's a good recruiting pitch going forward for Coach Haas and Coach Seesaw and that whole staff.
Definitely. Like you said, they're definitely getting a good one. And Stanford hasn't made the NCAA tournament since 2014. So they definitely have some great pitch that they gave Kanan, and they're going to be giving some other guys, having him choose over Auburn and Baylor, like you said, who's been really hot right now and really hot as of late. They definitely have a heck of a recruiting speech that they're giving.
Well, when I talked to Kanan, this would have been about a month ago, right? I think it was after he visited Stanford, and I could tell then, man, that whatever they did when he was out there, that pitch resonated because he was talking about how, kids that graduate from there, even if, say, the basketball part of it doesn't work out for them, that, you can leave Stanford with a Stanford degree and you're going to offer 6-figure jobs right out of college, which for non-athletes, that's a pretty remarkable number. So I know that really, really opened his eyes. So, and then obviously for him and his parents have got to be through the roof about it. So I know he's excited about it, and all his coaches are excited about it. So it's a good fit all around for him.
Definitely. So we can't wait to see, of course, what Kanan does when he matriculates to the collegiate level, but we're still focusing on high school right now, and we're midway through the season. So I know you guys have a lot of bold takes and a lot of things you guys want to get off your chest. So let's start with the best players. Who do you guys think are have been the top performers and consistent performers so far in this Georgia high school basketball season?
Yeah, I'll start with Isaiah Collier. I think I just mentioned him playing with Kanan. He's had an awesome start to the year for Wheeler. And, once again, Wheeler looks like they're one of the top teams in the state with a chance to win another 6A state title. But with Isaiah, he's always been known as the guy who's going to find his open teammates and going to rack up the assists. And, every night he's a threat to go for a double-double or even a triple-double with rebounds. But it's not just the passing anymore. He's become a much more consistent, reliable shooter. He's gotten stronger. So when he's going to the basket, he can finish through contact and got a little bit more athletic, so he gets off the floor a little quicker. So you can just tell he's a kid that puts in a lot of work on his game, and man, is it paying off in a big way this year, because he's put up some crazy numbers already. I think he's gone over 30 points probably 5 or 6 times already, which is pretty impressive for a guy that doesn't take a ton of shots. Definitely.
Carter, what about you?
It's hard to disagree with what Dan said about Isaiah Collier. I think he's so valuable to what Wheeler does. And, we've seen how much value he really brings to the floor for them. I had to go back through the games that I've been to and seen this year. And a team that I've seen multiple times is Newton. And every single time that I've seen them or, just seen like a recap or whatever, Jakai Newton just stands out in my mind. I think Indiana was way ahead of the curve there in getting him. And I think that he's going to end up being a steal for them. I mean, it's hard to say that anybody Indiana gets is a steal, but I think that he is one of those guys. Like, he just gets all of his offense in the flow of everything. He never really forces a bunch. He's scoring it from every level. He's super athletic. He defends. He's really a guy that stuck out in my mind. His national ranking is kind of all over the place. Like, you have some that have him really high, some that have him, around the 100. I think he's a borderline 4 or 5 star guy, to be honest. Like, he's got great size for the position. Like, he just checks all the boxes. So he's definitely a guy that's stood out for me. And, it's hard to choose between all those Newton guys, but I mean, he's the one in my mind that's really stood out.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that either. I mean, like you said, Newton's one of the best teams so far, and whether it's him or Steph Castle or Quay, I mean, those guys, they got a rolling this year. And Jakai's another one, like Isaiah, like, you can tell he's been working on his game. I mean, every single time you see him, his shot, not that he's never been a shooter, he's always been able to make shots, but it's just, it's not just a catch and shoot thing now. Like, I feel like every time I've seen him now, he hits one of those little step back threes he's got, because he creates good separation and he can elevate and get it off. So he's been awesome. Like you said, Coach Woodson, and I know Yassir recruited him. Those guys got to be through the roof about getting him to hop on board so early.
Definitely. And the Indiana fan base, they are huge on social media. Anytime we post anything or anything gets posted Jakai Newton wise, they're like standing, we can't wait for Jakai to get here. So they're super pumped about him. But we have to move on and talk about team performance overall, because it's been a lot of great overall team performances. So Dan, starting with you, what teams do you think are the legit contenders right now?
Yeah, so I'm going to cheat a little bit. When we were talking about this, we were going to go with one team. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to go with 3. I think 7A. And it's not just 3. I mean, there's more teams I'm not even going to talk about here that have a chance to win it. But we talk about Newton, Steph, Jakai, Quay Brown. And they got Marcus Whitlock's been great for them. And they have some big guys. OK Grant and Daniel Pounds have been good. I mean, they hit the ground running right from day one, look like the best team. But, Milton had some issues early on in the season, kind of getting rolling. But, I mean, I went and watched them on Tuesday night and played a Cherokee team. I think it was 12-4 going in the game, and they won by 30. So I feel like Milton's starting to get it going. Newton's had it going right from the get-go. And I think the team that's probably been better than I could have expected was Pillowbrook. I mean, every single event they play against one of the best teams, and they out-tough them. Kamai Young's had a great year putting up big numbers. Jayon Simon's come on really strong as one of the under the radar guys in 2023 classes, 6'7" forward. And, he does the dirty work inside, but he's got the skill to kind of play out in the perimeter too. So he's kind of one of those new age, combo forwards everybody loves. And Andre Young going to Troy, I think he's had a really good year playing point guard for them. So all three of those teams, like I would be willing to bet that at least two, if not all three, depending on how the bracket shakes out, will be Final Four teams come March, because they all got great experienced coaches and great talent, and that's when you got those two combined, that's hard to beat.
Carter, what team has caught your eye?
So, I mean, Dan's breaking down 7A and just going through it. Think about the guards that we have in 7A. Just across those three teams.
Not even mention like Berkmar and Grayson and
oh yeah, I mean it's a long list of teams, and
Warcross.
It's easy to mention. It's easy to mention all of them. I'm gonna go a little bit different here. Eagles Landing has been very good. They've rolled through a significant part of their schedule. They have 2 losses. They're both really close games to Pace and Grayson, who obviously are 2 of the better teams in the state. They play North Gwinnett this weekend at the Grayson New Year's event. I'm really looking forward to seeing them play there. But, having guys like Dave Thomas who can really score the ball just with anybody else in the state, and A.J. Barnes, who plays with a crazy motor and does a little bit of everything, gives them some size. I mean, it's no secret that they're probably the favorites to win the state title again. So, I mean, they've really been a team in my mind. Like, if you just think about the longevity over probably the last, 7 or 8 years, like they've been able to sustain a high level of success. I mean, you're talking about 2 state titles and, and could very well add another one this year. And, I don't think they really get the love that they deserve sometimes, but they're a team that I think ends the year at least in the top 5 overall in the state, regardless of class.
Yeah, and you mentioned the program kind of fly under the radar, but I think David Thomas as a prospect is kind of flying under the radar, because you have the guys like Isaiah and Kanan, and talk about Jakai and Steph, and you have London Johnson, Norcross, and Jelani Hamilton's been a guy that's kind of come on strong this year in the 2023 class. But you always, like, whenever I hear a college coach calls me and asks about guys to recruit in that class, I always tell them, like, hey, like, all those guys are great and they deserve all the accolades they get. They're all should be highly ranked guys. They should have all the offers they have. But I think David's the kind of guy that people have slept on a little bit, just because he's kind of on the south side. As you mentioned, Carter, they haven't really played any of the big events yet, but they will this Saturday at Grayson. So I'm really excited to see them play. But David's just such a tough scorer, can play both guards, defends, he scores at all 3 levels. I think he's going to be a guy that once he kind of gets on the circuit again this year and gets in front of some coaches maybe in the summer at the GSA events at Lake Point, I think he's going to be a guy that ends the summer with several high major offers.
Definitely. So we knew Newton was going to be good. We knew Milton was going to be good. Pebblebrook, like you mentioned. But what teams do y'all think are flying under the radar right now? What teams do y'all think are the biggest surprises so far halfway through the season?
Yeah, so if I'm going to stay in 6A, like, obviously Wheeler, every year you got them marked as a favorite, right? I mean, they've won 2 in a row. And they got the talent to do it again this year. But if anybody's going to knock them off in the 6A, I think it's a team that they just played at the TOC at Wheeler last week. I think that's Buford. I've watched Buford a couple times now, and with the way Coach Benji Wood in his first year kind of has them playing an up and down style, pressing a little bit, allowing their guys to be really good athletes and thrive in that way. Alon Sumner's had a great year as senior guard. Jalen Taylor's probably, if not the best, he's one of the best unsigned prospects in the state as a 6'6", 6'7" wing forward. He's having a great year. I just think the way they play kind of speeds you up, and they have depth to where, they can hang one. They lost about 5 last week. So I think that was kind of a good look for them to see how they stacked up early this year. Like I said, they got a new coach, so he's kind of still putting his stuff in, and who knows? They could be the better team come early March when the state championship comes around. So they've kind of surprised me, and I kind of think they're a sleeper to watch in 6A. If Buford's ever considered a sleeper. I mean, I know they've always been great, but, for the purpose of this, let's call them a sleeper.
Underrated.
Underappreciated.
What about you, Carter?
I think over the course of the year, I look at McEachern. I saw them early on in the season, and it was, some pieces that, had a new role that was much bigger, and, you could tell that it took them a little time to adjust. But over the past, I would say like three weeks or so, like, they've been one of the better teams in 7A. Like, it's hard to say that, they're like not one of the better teams, and teams wouldn't want to play them at this point. I think Tremaine Anchor's done a great job. You talk about the pieces that have been, kind of coming in and out of there. And, he's kind of taken this group that's, senior led, and Mike Jacobs has been really good at the point. And, Braden Sparks has been really good shooting the ball. Jalen Hilliard's got great size and athleticism. They're a team that I think could make some noise. And, they've been playing really good basketball, and it wouldn't shock me to see them make a run in 7A.
Definitely. So guys, we've been doing a lot of looking back and reflecting, but it's time to look forward. So what are you guys' prediction for the rest of the season? We're going to look back at this tape. So choose your words.
I'm going to say, we talked about all those 7A contenders, and Carter's another. They're another one guys on there. But I do think so. I think you're going to get 3 in the Final Four. Okay, I understand why they're here. Really good players, really good coaches. We kind of expected it. There's going to be one that's 7A is so. I mean, North Gwinnett, another one, because they got RJ Godfrey leading the way. They got Thomas Aller, and they got some other good pieces around those guys. I mean, they could be a sleeper type of team that can make a run. So just using them as there's others. So I think you're going to get 3 no-brainers that are going to make it, like the Bellbrooks, Graysons of the world. But there's going to be one surprise in there that people don't expect that's going to make it to the Final Four in 7A.
Carter, what about you?
I'm going to piggyback off of what Dan's saying a little bit here. If you go around to some of the hoop heads here in Atlanta, you will get the consensus that in 7A, it's Newton and Pebblebrook, and then there's a big gap and everybody else. And I don't think that that's the case. I think Milton's going to get rolling here. And, like Dan said, they kind of proved that on Tuesday against the good Cherokee team. And the offense was there. I mean, the backcourt's always going to be productive. And I've said this on videos before. I'm never going to count Bruce Thornton out. Like, I'm not going to do it. That guy can just flat out win. So I think that they're going to be a team when it's all said and done. Like, you still got to beat that team. I get that, it's kind of been a long year for them already. And, there's a lot of adversity that those kids have faced. And they're going to respond. I know that they're going to. And, even if you want to dive down further into 7A, like Dan said, like you have Grayson and Berkmar and, all these other teams. And it's going to be more than a 2-horse race. I mean, I get that Pebblebrook and Newton so far have kind of separated themselves as far as their play so far. But I think moving forward, I think obviously those 2 teams are going to continue to play well. But I think that it's more than just a 2-horse race in 7A.
You also have, we didn't really touch on it, but you got Norcross there, who's perennially in the mix for that. And they got London Johnson, who's as good as any of these guards, and they got talent around him. And Jesse McMillan's been around forever. He knows what he's doing over there. So they haven't really hit their stride yet necessarily, but they did win by almost 40 last night against Discovery. So, they're a team I think will get better as the year goes on. And who knows? I don't know that I count them as my surprise team in the Final Four, because it's hard to ever say Norcross surprise to make it that deep. But no, I think that's another one you can't count out here. So the 7A race,
it's crazy how deep the talent pool is in 7A. Like, when you're talking about, like Dan said, you're talking about teams like Norcross and Grayson, and those teams are kind of mentioned secondary.
Another sleeper potentially with the way Etowah's guards shoot the ball. Any given night, that they're a tough team to take out. So it's like I said, it's going to be fun to watch the next couple months, and the region tournaments are going to be so much fun too. So, hope they don't get here too soon, because I want to be able to enjoy the rest of the season. But it's gonna be a fun ride.
Right, you rushing the season away, man.
No, I'm trying not to.
Enjoy it. Right there. You trying to rush the season so we can get to travel ball and all the events we have.
Ryze Tip-Off Classic and Junior Tip-Off and Junior. What do we have? The
Junior Warm-Up.
Junior Warm-Up. All those are right around the corner, so I can't wait to get started with those.
Well, guys, like y'all said, it's a very deep talent pool, but it's a lot of season left. So we're going to be along the ride for all the surprises, all the expectations, all the upsets, and the many more commitments that we have to come this season. But guys, this was another great edition of the Ryze Recap. I'm Symone Stanley, joined by Carter Wilson and Dan McDonald. These guys dropped a lot of knowledge again today, like they always do. But make sure you guys like this video, leave a comment, subscribe to our channel. Let us know what kind of content you want to see on our page. And until we talk to you guys next time, thanks for joining us.